Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where finally it's album reviews. You can find our band interviews and you can find live coverage of the concerts that we get. I've been posting a ton of band interviews, so if you haven't checked those out, there's a playlist where you can watch all of them. I actually did one with Dayseeker a while ago, and I'm hoping to do one on their upcoming tour that they're doing with Wage War. So I'm super excited about that. As well as that, I've been doing a lot of album reviews as of late. I'm hoping to get to some that I didn't get a chance to get to last week and some that came out yesterday, so definitely check those out if you're interested as well. Just always got stuff on the plate, so hopefully you'll check those out. But tonight we're going to be talking about Dayseeker's newest record, Sleeptalk. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with this band, they are a metalcore, post-hardcore kind of hybrid band from Orange County, California. And I've been a big fan of this band for a while. I've actually been a really big fan of Rory for a long time when he was in Arms Like Yours, even Southern Lights a while ago. And so I've always kind of followed his journey as a singer. And of course, I've been following Dayseeker. I did a review of their last record, which is Dreaming is Sinking, Waking is Rising, and that was also released on Spine Farm Records as well. And this is their latest work, which I'm excited to go through. So I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on all of the songs, go through some pros and cons, and then finish it out with an overall rating. So the first track is called Drunk. This one's one of my favorites. I love the sort of guitar and piano in the intro. It really adds an awesome sort of ambience to the song in itself. But I love what they're doing with kind of Rory's vocals, where the overdubs of his vocals have this kind of vocoder kind of harmony thing going on. It definitely sounds like it's definitely been edited, but it sounds awesome, and I think it really kind of differentiates his normal kind of straightforward vocal parts dubbed over by the harmonies. And I think it just really is hugely influenced by a lot of pop and sort of electronic artists that they had referred to in the last interview that we did, but I feel like it's more stated in this work, body of work, than I'd say maybe in Dreaming is Sinking. But you can definitely hear again the pop and sort of electronic influence in not only I think Rory's voice, but also in kind of the instrumentals going on, a lot of electronic layering, and I think it just adds to this sort of massive sound that they create. I love the chorus. That's probably one of the main reasons why I love the chorus the most, is that it just has this sort of just full sort of big sound, and I think it is just adds this awesome sort of layer and depth to the track that I feel like would have been remiss if they were missing. I think that it is a great opener track, and again, if I can't speak on the point of how much I love Rory's vocals, I think he really killed it on this track for sure. So we're going to move into track number 2, which is Crooked Soul. This is the first single that they had released. I don't think that they had announced an album at that point in time when they released a single. It was just a single at the current time, and I was really sold on this upon first listen. I think it was a good kind of middle ground to Dreaming is Sinking, just because it feels very much in that lane, but also there's a lot more singing. I would say they were definitely straying away from the sort of screaming aspect of what Rory does. I don't think entirely. I hope that they don't get rid of it entirely, but I think that they really kind of transitioned it well, with being more of a, Rory taking more of the singing role and having more clean parts. I think that they did a good job of not only meshing the sort of heaviness of a track into one, but also the sort of new sound where it's a little bit more electronic. It's a little bit more, has more of a pop feel to it. I think they really kind of put it to their own sound and really made it work in this track in particular. I love the sort of darker undertones of this song as well. And this was kind of the aggression that I was missing on this record, that I feel like there are a handful of tracks off this record that are definitely on the heavier side, that definitely pull from more of that heavier aspect of their band. But I also feel like this, again, fuses kind of old and new sounds together. Probably my favorite just portion of the entire song is just Gino's guitar writing. I think he has some really great grooves on this track, but I think he's just a solid riff writer in general. Some of his work just is reminiscent of a lot of the bands in the scene now. Ones that I can think of off the top of my head that have kind of a familiar sound is like Architects, as well as like Silent Planet, who manages them, or Garrett manages them. But really a really well-rounded track, a heavy track. And I love what Mike does in this track as well. I think he's got some really great drum lines. So we're going to move into track number 3, which is Burial Plot. This one is the most recent single, and it happens to be one of my favorites as well. But I will say that this one didn't initially sell me. I thought this one at first was kind of the weakest of the 3 singles, but just because it was more on the slower side, I felt like Sleeptalk definitely had that sort of catchy vibe, and it was something just like mentally about it that I feel like, despite it being, again, on more of a softer sound, I think it just sat with me better than I felt Burial Plot did. But this one, I think, has just become one of my favorites. It's one that even prior to them releasing this record, it was one that I had on full rotation in my car all the time, and I just feel like Rory has just such a smooth delivery, and you can hear it, and you can just hear the sort of conviction behind his voice, and just coupled with the sort of powerful lyrics, the awesome melodies, and just the powerful instrumentals. I think they really kind of sold this one home for me, and it just creates this overall sort of big sound. While it not being, I guess, one of the heavier tracks, I think it is definitely emotionally heavy. I think it is also very much along the lines of just kind of a grandiose song that really works without just kind of being just straightforward heavy. I think they really kind of made a track that felt very much along the lines of what they do as Dayseeker, but also kind of pulling into kind of a newer direction and trying stuff that's just a little bit different. So we're going to move into track number 4, which is the title track of the record, Sleeptalk, and this is the second single that they have released with a music video, and this one is another favorite of mine. I think I kind of spoke on it a little bit earlier, but it's just super catchy. I love that they're channeling bands like The Midnight. I know that they had referred to them last time when we did an interview with them a while ago, and it's cool to see not only Dayseeker blow up, but also The Midnight. But I think a lot of the Midnight influence is definitely the sort of electronic layering and just the sort of just overall aesthetic of the songs that they're creating. I wouldn't say exactly to a T, because again, the Midnight's more of like an 80s sort of pop band in that sort of sense, but I think they definitely draw a lot of influence in terms of just the like sort of overdubs, the ambience that goes along in a lot of these tracks. I think they really pull from that as well, and I really love the hooks on this track. I think this is what really sold me on this song, was just the way that Rory's able to kind of concoct these really kind of like beautiful balance of like melody, but also some harshness. And I love that sort of grit that he gets in like his higher register. I think it's really awesome. I know that I had spoke about it last time in the last review, but I think he just really kind of rips it in this track as well. And I think it also has like, again, a good amount of post-hardcore elements to it, but also is again pulling from more of a rock and alternative basis in that regard. But again, fantastic track, one that is already out. I mean, the whole record's out now, but like one of the ones that I was initially sold on as well when they announced the record. So we're gonna move into track number 5, which is The Ember That Glows. This is definitely very much an interlude track. I think it's just under a minute and a half, but this one, I think does a really great job of kind of, breaking up the record. As well as that, I think it really kind of pulls from, again, this sort of aspects and genres that they're kind of noting throughout the entire record as well. And I also feel like it does a really great job of setting up the next song, which is The Color Black. And just the way that it kind of has that sort of weight to it. It's like, like the calm before the storm sort of a thing. So definitely a good kind of interlude track. Just to kind of, keep the record going. So we're going to move into track number 6, which is The Color Black. This one is my favorite as well. I would say that this one is one of the heaviest tracks, if not the heaviest track off the record. I'd say maybe Crooked Soul is a very close second, and Gates of Ivory, I'd say they're pretty heavy. I would say also Crash and Burn as well, but I would say more towards the latter half, which we'll talk about a little later on. But I would say this is, easily top 5 heaviest tracks off of the record. And I also feel like I'm getting some really strong Architects vibes. I know I had mentioned them earlier in a previous track, but they really, really worked with this track. I love what they're doing with it. I think it offers a nice contrast to not only the Embers that glow, but also Sleeptalk, being kind of more of a softer, more melodic based track. And as well as that, I think they do a great job of keeping it heavy, but not compromising their like newer sound that they have, being more electronic, having more of a sort of melodic, sort of pop influence to them. And again, much of the reason why I liked Crooked Soul is also why I loved The Color Black. I think it was really heavy, and as well as that, I love the ending of this track. I think it is super heavy, and I think they just rounded it out super well. So we're going to move into track number 7, which is Already Numb. This one is very diverse. I think this one is probably the one that I feel like most people would think is maybe a little bit out of their realm of music, but I like it. I think it is different. I think, again, it plays more to their pop strength, and sort of softer stuff. It has acoustic guitars, it has violin, the layering that's going on in the track has more of a softer feel to it, but I will say the one standout kind of moment of this track is just the way that Rory kind of works his lower register. It has this really nice warmth to it that I feel like he doesn't really get to utilize too much in the more larger than life tracks, the more grandiose songs, the ones that are a little bit heavier. So I like his sort of softer, more tender moments in songs like these, as well as that he gets to use some really awesome falsettos that I think, really highlight his voice, and he's able to kind of, do something different that I feel like, in some of the singles that have been released so far, and in even previous works, I've really liked their sort of slower songs, just because I've been able to hear kind of Rory do his, thing on those softer tracks. So we're gonna move into track number 8, which is Gates of Ivory. This one is one of my favorites as well. I think this one is definitely groovy. I love those sort of like little drum beat intro. I think that was really solid. But they definitely bring the heavy in this track. Chorus is one of my favorites as well. But I would say probably my most favorite part of the song is definitely the second verse. The way that they harmonize kind of the layered vocals were really awesome, and I think they strike a nice balance between The Color Black and Crooked Soul. I feel like it is kind of a variation or a combination of those two songs where it is, a little bit more along the lines of a singing song where, there's a good majority of the song that is sung, and there is some screaming, but I will say that this one definitely rides the line of those songs, but also instrumentally I think is a little bit more on the heavier side. So we're going to move into track number 9, which is Starving to Be Empty, and this one features Seneca Petty. I'm pretty sure I pronunciated that right. If I didn't, I'm sorry, because I'm really bad at that. But this one is one of my favorites as well, and I think this one, much like Already Numb, I think is going to take a lot of people by surprise. Is definitely one of those tracks that are out of left field, but I have to say that, when I first listened to this, I was sold. Like, there's just something about this track that just got me. I really can't explain it. It's just something about the melody, the like just the sort of overall like ambience to it, I think is just beautiful. And I love that Rory kind of did more, again, more pop sort of stuff with his vocals in this track. He just sounds awesome, and I think his voice is further accentuated when Seneca comes in and she does her parts and they kind of do their harmony bits together. I think it is just well meshed together. I also feel like Seneca did a fantastic job. She's a phenomenal vocalist, and if she's in a band, you should go check it out. I think she only has an Instagram, to my knowledge, and I think she definitely needs to get more exposure because her voice was really just it really meshed well, not only with Rory's vocals, but I think she can definitely handle her own stuff. And I think verse 2 definitely utilizes that and shows off her abilities as a clean vocalist. I think that the way that she is able to kind of do her runs and her melodies, just were really so well executed. And I think this song is just one of those sleeper tracks that I feel like a lot of people will kind of brush over because it's not a quote unquote Dayseeker song. And I feel like I feel like they're wrong, because like it is just so good. The pop elements are strong with this one, and I love the softer songs I had mentioned before. I think Rory really kind of executes his like clean vocal style super well on this, as well as that just his falsetto is beautiful, especially that last chorus in the bridge. Ooh, that's some really good stuff right there. And again, fantastic track from start to finish. Go give this one a listen. If I had to recommend anyone that was just a little bit out there, but I think work with the record. So we're going to move into the last track number 10, which is Crash and Burn. This one is also a favorite of mine as well. And this one kind of starts off slow. I think that the soft motif really works with the sort of gravitas of the song. It has definitely a huge sound to it. And I think once it gets to that first like pre-chorus chorus area is when it really starts to kind of pick up. But I think he just really runs out the gate with this, and he goes full gambit. And I think this one kind of covers a lot of the sort of the heavier elements of the record, but also kind of the more softer, more melodic based elements of the record. And just that last little bit just becomes super like dissonant and like heavy, and like it has this sort of minor dark undertone to it that I think really works. And that last breakdown really just kind of like sends it home. I think it is a great closer track. Again, I think it kind of covers a lot of ground. Like if there is one song that I could recommend to you off the record that really kind of covers the entire thing, I would definitely recommend this one, because I feel like it has those soft moments, it has those heavy moments, but it also has those kind of in-between moments that, you know, are a little bit more the heavier side of the band, but also just having mostly primarily clean singing. Again, really fantastic track, great closer. Some pros and cons I have about the record. I really don't have any cons about it. I think that they are really going in a different direction, but I love the direction that they're going in. As much as I love Dreaming is Sinking, Waking is Rising, I think this is the kind of next proper step to what they're doing. And I think to me, their band kind of is taking this sort of similar direction that The Plot and You took with Dispose, with their most recent record. I feel like they still have that sort of heavy element in terms of the instrumentals, but vocally I feel like they're keeping it more melodic and more clean vocals, and I love that direction. I think they're able to utilize it a little bit more, and I think the screams cut a little bit more when they are utilized. So I love what they're doing. I think they're doing some really awesome stuff. I really thoroughly enjoyed the entire record, and this one was the only one that I feel like would be pretty close to competing with Capstan's latest record. So I'm glad to know that this is equally as good. I will have to see when December comes for me to decide on which one's better, but this one's definitely going to give that Capstan record a run for its money. Some pros that I have about it: I love that there's a nice balance of heavy and soft songs, and then also kind of the placement of each songs as well, like Sleeptalk being kind of more of a softer song and then kind of paired up with The Color Black. Same with Already Numb, Gates of Ivory, Starving to Be Empty, Crash and Burn. I think it is a nice kind of juxtaposition between both of those things, and I like when bands do that because it just doesn't get stale at all. I really love Roy's vocals. As I mentioned, I feel like with each record he gets a little bit better, and I also feel like his range grows a little bit more and more each time as well. And I think, again, as I mentioned prior, I think their jump in sound was definitely well executed. I think they landed it pretty well. I know that there are some bands that, in terms of sonic change, I feel like don't jump the gap that well, and I feel like this band definitely does that justice. And I would say overall the record is like way more catchier than Dreaming. I love that record to death, but I think this one just feels a lot more cohesive. I think the songs work together a lot better, and I just love the sort of experimentation that they have going on with this one. So my overall rating for Dayseeker's Sleeptalk, I'm going to be giving it a 9.8 out of 10. Definitely check this band out. They're going on tour with Wage War. They're also going out with like Moths to Flames and Polaris, which is, I think, a massively stacked lineup. So if you're going out to that, let me know in the comments if you are. As well as that, let me know what your favorite tracks are, and if you agree or you disagree with my thoughts on the record, I'd love to hear your opinion on it. If you feel like they didn't do it that well, I'd love to know your reasoning behind it. So definitely let me know in the comments. We could have a really cool conversation about that. And if you enjoyed this review, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. It goes a long way. My name is Brandon. We hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Hey Peace. Guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Of course, if you enjoy what we do, make sure to go check out the other series we do. We do album reviews, we do band interviews, and we do live videos, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps our channel, helps us grow. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Go follow us on social media. That's all down below. We try to keep that as updated as possible. We also made a new website where we'll be posting photos of upcoming concerts and stuff like that, which you can go check out at audioaddictionmedia.com, and come get your fix with us, guys. Talk to you later. Deuces.